So today I get to present kind of like the past. I get to show you what we have done this year. This has become more and more difficult every year because we have more and more products every year. You know, we had one product a few years back that grew into 2, 3, 4. Now we have a total of like 8 products kind of around in different phases of maturity here. So with all those thousands of changes that we're pushing out every year, I've got to pick the biggest ones, so you'll see the biggest ones here. Tomorrow I get to show you guys the future, so I love that one as well because I get to show you the things that we're actually coming out with. So make sure you're here for that as well. And it's in the morning, so make sure tonight you don't go too hard tonight, right? How many people gambled last night? Be honest. Raise your hands. This is a party group. Okay, new timers and partiers, right? It's going to be fun. So this is the What's New section again, where I talk about the changes that we've made here. What I also want to point out before we go into the actual changes, we do have a feedback form. This feedback form is actually important, right? So it's just feedback.earth.com. We have all of our products on there. Some of it is fairly new. We put some of the newer products up there pretty recently, so there's not a lot of content on some of the newer ones. But the reason it's important as well is because it's your voice. You can go there, you can look at changes, you can request changes, you can vote for changes. The changes that have the most thumbs up, we actually look at and we get into our roadmap. So this is how we can take your voice and scale your voice up across all of our product lines. So this is something that's very important. And most of the changes that I'm going to show today, we've actually put up here, we've actually put inside of the feedback form. So that's the first place to start here. So we have grown, like Brad has said, we have actually grown. And I want to just kind of make sure everyone understands the purview when I said that we've grown, like where we are now. So when you think about it, on the far left-hand side with damage prevention, we've got Utilisphere, we have DigTix, we've got ExactTix, we have our risk, which I'll talk about in a second. But you can see the millions and millions, tens of millions of tickets that we have, almost really creeping up to 100 million by the end of the year. That's an amazing amount of data that we're getting, right? If you see on the left-hand side, over 334 different forms. Let me explain what that means. We introduced this concept of an app designer for you guys, a form designer. Many of you have gone in there and built and digitized your own processes. I mean, I remember 7 years ago when we started, maybe it was 5 years ago with that, like getting one in there was exciting. Now we're at 334 different processes, which is just absolutely amazing and absolutely huge. 113,000 follow-ups, right? I mean, just an amazing number of follow-ups as well. In terms of like the ExactTix side, over 2.8 million tickets created on the web. That's excavators going in and creating tickets on the web, which are really help the industry as a whole. Really driving excavators to know how to use that helps the industry become safer, better when they're putting in tickets, getting the location information in there as well. Absolutely amazing on that side. Another thing about risk, and we'll go really deep into risk this session, not this session, but also with Kyle in a next session here, is that we have 52 customers using us for risk. That is the most in the entire industry. No one else has that many customers using a risk product, right? And the thing that's amazing about that only gets better. And the reason that only gets better is because it goes back to the tickets then and the work items. The more tickets we have, the more data that we have, the more damages that we see from you all, we can run into those models and actually predict when damage is likely to happen, right? So massive purview there. On the training and qualification side, a fairly new thing that we acquired, I think it's not as understood as how many and what the scope is of use. 123,000 registered users. That is huge, right? Using that product right now. Many of them excavators on the one-call side, but really huge adoption there. And then on the land management side, which is new to us, 18,000 users. We've got $96 billion in payments that have gone through that system on the land management side. So this is really, when you think about Earth Solutions, this is really, who we are now, right? Now, all of us in this room, most of us are in the damage prevention realm, or kind of underneath of that or close to that, adjacent to that in the room, but a lot of growth outside. So we'll kind of focus more on that this year, but in coming years at the next conferences, that will probably change and we'll have different tracks. I just added more work to Josh and Scott, by the way, so next year. Along with our growth here, we kind of have to pick like these big themes. What are our big themes for the past year, right? Our big themes have really been user experience. That is our investment to you guys as customers, right? You give us feedback, you tell us what you don't like, too many clicks here, or syncing takes too long here. And what we do is we take that feedback and we make changes off that. We're really doing that through the user experience. So a huge thing for us. AI as well. Again, we talked about the data. The data set is big enough now where we can really get big results for all of you in terms of our artificial intelligence and the models that we're building. Analytics is a huge push, and then we also have intelligent workflows, which we'll go more into, and Shane's got a session even deeper than what I'm going to show with that here. So Jumping into it on the UX side, the user experience side specific to Earth, we have released a new mobile app. Has anyone in this room used the new mobile app? And I'm expecting only a few. Yeah, there's a few at this point. We've done a pretty controlled rollout of it, and I'll kind of talk about that here in a second. But we have released our new mobile app. It's on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store today. Our biggest thing that we kept hearing from users were clicks. There were too many clicks on the old one. There was also syncing. Syncing was taking too long. When we started our old application, there wasn't that much data being synced up and passed down because it's offline. As cameras got better on phones, the photo size kept growing. It kept taking longer to sync more and more data. So now we've changed the new mobile app to be more asynchronous. And then when it can't connect, then it works offline. But then when it connects, it automatically does it as well. So massive change to the architecture behind the scenes. The improved photo capture, making it faster. You know, someone is in the middle of the street, click, click, click. They run off the road, but they've got all their photos now without slowing down. Big difference there. And also mapping. We do have a big release this Friday here. Right now, we've done a very controlled release of it to make sure that responses are going through and there's no bugs in it. We're releasing work items on Friday, this Friday here for it. So if you use us for other activities, leak surveys, anything like that, you can use us for that, damages and so on here. So this is an example of what it looks like here. And this is, again, the new mobile. There's a new home screen here. And that home screen is really designed to give the locators or field techs information, specifically in front of them, right? What is assigned to you? What's in your folders or your area? How many emergency tickets do you have? You kind of have the weather, and you get a little message card at the bottom where we can put messages up there. You can put messages up there. And then once you actually open up the summary screen or go to the task list, we are making it more map-centric now. So this is the map kind of centric view of mobile. You can make that map the entire screen if you want, just by pulling that handle down in the middle. You could remove that map by pulling that handle up. It's now very intuitive to work with. But searching is much better, because it's asynchronous now. You're not just searching on things that are offloaded or on the device. You're searching across if you have a connection now and hitting the server side. So that's better. The filtering is better, and everything's here. Now, one of the other big changes, we put on our old native app, we put the emphasis on the locator when they first logged in to say, I need to sync this information. We're not doing that anymore, and that's why we're kind of doing a controlled rollout. Now administrators can choose what the field techs see and what the people in the field see. So if you assign to individuals, you can set a setting in a mobile profile, say assign to users, that's what will sync to them. If it's folders, that's what will sync to them. So really, the first time techs log in, they will actually see information. In the last app, they didn't see that. So that's a big difference here. Now, the other thing too, when I actually click on an actual ticket or an item, we added a ton of little features in here that we heard from all of you, from your user base as well. And some of them are so small that it's very difficult to see, but I'll explain. First thing is, it is more map-centric. You have the map at the top at all times. You can click on it. You can see your facilities, dig box, all of the information that you need right up on top, right? The second thing, though, is do you guys see the ticket number underneath of open, destroyed marks right there, that ticket number? There's a little icon beside that ticket number. This is just an example. That little icon, when you click on it, it just says copy. It just automatically copies the ticket. Why is that important? We realized that our field techs were copying ticket IDs all the time to try to email them off to people or do a search for them or send them, text them to someone. Well, that little button's an example of something we heard that we added that should be a massive time saver. The other thing, too, and I'll go to the next screen for this. Again, this is a ticket where I just scrolled up and removed the map on the ticket, still the details screen. You'll notice the street address, the lat long, those are all hyperlinks now. You click on those, it automatically opens up the map. You have real-time directions if you're tech now to that location. The phone number, right? The phone number and email also are clickable as well now. You click on the phone number, you can call that excavator directly, right? So all those little tiny tweaks in here, are what we heard from our users and are what we added to this product here, right? So the other thing I'll say about this, if you don't have access to this now, remember, this is not something that we're charging for at all, right? Just come talk to Lindsay. Lindsay's in the back. She has her hand up. We'll turn your company profile on. Again, we're kind of doing a slow rollout of it. So I think we're at about 40 customers now, I think, at this particular point. If you want it on, we can turn it on. If you use work items, that's coming on Friday as of next week, and we can kind of do a trial or test with you, okay? We also made it responsive as well. So I know I'm focused on like the mobile phone kind of view as well, but on tablets, it is responsive. It scales out to size. And you can see that size appropriate, but it has all the same types of things that I showed you before. Okay, so this is the UX, new mobile UX that we have completed. And again, at some point, we will sunset the old one next year. The new one is in the phase of ramping up here at this particular point. In terms of dig ticks here, billing, a huge change to billing and really optimize the way in which contract locators use dig ticks for billing. So when you think about this here, contract locators can go in. We've actually changed the way and made it easier to actually set up billing rules, and that's number one. Number two is they can also change when the billing occurs and when that needs to occur. They can actually schedule changes in billing out. So if you see the left-hand side of this, there's a little kind of yellow box that says active, and underneath of that it says schedule. So now I can set a billing rule and activate it at a particular date in the future, and then what will happen is it will actually show as scheduled then if that date is in the future at that particular point. And that's when you know the billing change is going to take effect for the contract locators entering the data. The second thing as well, along with that, is on the left-hand side, you'll see like activity with units. We're trying to make it much, much easier to input the data in terms of billing as well for DigTix contract locator customers. So really make it where they're not missing a mark. They can enter the billing. That only makes the billing more accurate for you guys in terms of when you actually receive the bill, if you're on the utility or the that side right here. But a big change here to DigTix with that piece. DigTix incident flow as well. This is a change in terms of the user interface for the incident flow. So what you'll see here now with DigTix, on the left-hand side, above it, you'll see that there's a little drop-down that says details. On the right-hand side, it says investigation. So this is what it looks like, two different kind of screens, one details on the left, investigation on the right-hand side, being able to have context of what those details are along with what the investigation is on the same screen at the same time. So really big change for DigTix in terms of the user experience around this here. Map redlining. So this is one of the most common use cases we've heard in our product is map redlining. And so what we did is we released a solution for this. So number one problem we kept hearing is locator goes on site, they can't find the actual asset or the asset's in the wrong location, right? Or even something's wrong, right? It's the wrong frequency. So they don't have the right notes to be able to know what frequency to even hit, to find the asset. So that's one of the biggest problems that we've heard. And we actually created a standard app for this. So with the standard app, there is a map redlining form out there. The form is kind of a misnomer because it's more than that. But what the tech can do when they're on site, they can actually draw where the location of the asset is on a map, or they can breadcrumb that location as well, just by hitting start breadcrumbing and walking wherever the location of the asset is. Okay? So the other thing is there's an area systems segment data source as well that matches on your assets depending upon location as well. And then you get an asset summary screen. There's a self-service report with that. But the biggest thing is that there also is an integration, most of you use Esri, that passes that data back to your Esri server. And then if you use us for like a dynamic REST or like an Esri REST layer where you can see your assets in, as soon as it gets passed back to your map server, now it displays on your actual maps as a layer in the map itself, right? And what we've seen is there are different tiers. Some people want to approve that like on the GS side. Some people want to approve those changes inside of Utilisphere, inside of the application. We handle both. But it's a big change in terms of making sure that when the locator's on site, they see something different, they can actually correct where the location is here. And it's really simple from a native standpoint. This is what the tech sees. You see information about the location from a ticket. You actually hit a button or drop down that says create map redline, and you click on that. This opens up right here. The tech can just hit start breadcrumbing and literally start walking that location of where it is, or they can draw by clicking on actions and clicking draw on map. So there's two options there. And then once they save it, again, there's an approval process somewhere in the middle that's different by all clients. It doesn't matter how it works. We can set it up that way. But the big thing is there's a webhook now that passes that information back to your GIS. Okay, so big change. A lot of interest in this here. So appreciate the feedback for this because it was all from our clients here. Corsetra. So Corsetra is the learning management side of what we do. It's the training and qualifications piece here. And when you think about Corsetra here, we really focused on the user experience to make it as easy as possible. The worst thing in the world is if you have a training platform that you have to train people how to use. And you never want to do that. If a training platform is too complicated, you've already failed, right? So we try to make this thing as easy as possible, reduce clicks, make sure everyone knows right at their fingertips where it is, super intuitive. So in June, we released the student portal, which is like one of the first things we released here. This is where the student can come in and they can see what courses have they taken, what classes have they taken, what have they not taken, what's up next for them. So when you think about your qualification programs, right, this is an example of what that could be. Along with that, you can see the student's account directly, or the student can see their account. They can also see their achievements. If there are certifications that have been passed, they can get access to all their certifications at any time. They can print them off. They can see them in the actual application right here. This is the reimagined quiz and survey experience. So what we have done is we've actually added a ton of different features to this, and Rod's going to go into more detail with this. But we're making the quiz like first and foremost front and center across the board, right? When users are taking some type of test or some type of qualification, right? Front and center, they can come in there, they can take it. We're giving them immediate feedback back on whether or not they failed something, and we can do all of that even after the fact, immediate grades, and then show them what they got right and got wrong, right? So that helps them as they're actually learning. And we can even test the results of that after the fact, which is one of the best things about it here. Not only do we change the end user side, we also changed the administration side to make it easier for administrators to come in here and set up training courses, training certification as well. So this is an example of what the new UX looked like. In here, you can set up the different courses that you want your students to take. Not only can you set up the courses, you can set up your goals and metrics and how you measure them. That's all part of the new UX as well. So really making it easier for both the actual end users, or the students in this case, and the administrators to set up these training programs. Okay. Now, the other thing too, and this is our first kind of integration into this with one of our products here with Coursetra. So Utilisphere locate audits. So this is the first integration point. On the left-hand side is an email that was generated from Utilisphere. That email was system generated from a locate audit that was failed. Okay, so that email gets sent off to the locator who failed the audit. In that email is a QR code on the bottom left, and you also see it says click here. It's kind of hard to see. That QR code and that click here actually opens up a course for that locator who failed. This is the course for the locator who failed right here. So now you can have immediate feedback. Audit occurs, failure occurs, the locator gets notified that the failure occurred, takes them into a training course right here. It's this entire process loop now, right? And again, the goal, reduce damages, safety across the board. That's what we're trying to do here. So now the actual, the locator actually takes the training course right here, and once they're complete, they have it completed now at this particular point. Hopefully that reduces risk of a future incident happening, in more audits that are passed than moving forward, right? So really a big change here for Coursetra, and you can see administration across the board, UX design, that's our big push for this past year, where we spent the majority of our time here. Analytics and reports, another big change for us. Again, as we get more and more data across the board, we've got to have a way to kind of store that data and let you guys actually get information from that data, right? Not just see the data, but actually get information. So this is a big change for us in terms of analytics. One of the things that we kept hearing, we had self-service reports out there. We have, we've got like our exports out there. We have kind of dashboards. They're kind of static. You couldn't really change them. So being able to customize is one of the most important things that we've heard from all of you. So that's number one. Information clarity, like not only can you customize, but if we're just throwing something out there for you, you may like it, but you may need some level deeper, right, to get more clarity on it. That's what we're trying to bring you with what we're doing with the new reports and dashboards. Being able to see company trends, but at the end of the day, it really is about decision making, right? Reports and dashboard, that's what it's about. Taking the data, turning it into information, letting you guys see it, and letting you guys make decisions off of that data. So what we've done is we've actually pointed that to our live database. It updates every 30 minutes. Which is much more real time than the old self-service reports are now. And you can filter through, you can actually click and do drill throughs, and I'll show you that here in a second. And it's available on most dashboards as well. And we are using a standard now that is the standard, which is Microsoft Power BI. So if you have Microsoft Power BI experts in your shop, they should have no problem understanding this. We can also help do training of that with you guys. You just have to let us know here. So this is what the old looks like right here. The old kind of dashboards right here. This is the way that you get to the new ones here. And they may not be turned on for everyone. Again, we're kind of doing a controlled rollout of these. So if you want access to this, let us know and we can actually turn it on for you. Again, Lindsay would be one of the main people to talk to in the back here. But if you go in, you'll see something that says self-service reports beta. We're probably going to change that to call just Power BI or something like that. That's what it's called right now. When you click on that, you can go to new report. We have some templates. When you click on those templates, this is now what you see. So this is an example of the screening dashboard. Along the bottom right there, you'll see there's all these different tabs. Those tabs are all of the pre-made dashboards that we built for you. And we've tried to think of everything. It's impossible to think of everything when you have that many clients, that much data, and the way you all slice and dice data a little bit. But we've tried to at least give you the templates to start with for this reporting. So this is an example of screening, right, where you can see tickets by location, the ticket action statuses. Not only do we just give you the templates, you can click on something on the actual chart and edit it. So on the right-hand side are all the different ways that you can edit these different charts and dashboards. You can even build your own. You can even build your own table structures to get to the bottom line and underlying data, which is completely different than what we've done before in the past. In the past, it's mostly metric-based, right? This actually, you can get to the actual underlying data with the actual tables here. So this is an example of operator charts that are out of the box now right here. So, percent screened by manual screen date, what screening types do we have in here? You get different screening statistics, locator workload, how many are past due. I'm sure no one ever has past due tickets in the room, right? How many tickets are due by locator, open ticket by type, right? So right at your fingertips, you can see this information, okay? Performance charts right here. So on the performance charts, what is the actual ticket volume? How many tickets do we have cleared right there? What's the ticket type category? Again, and you can see all the different types of visualizations. Before it was like just pie charts and bar charts. You've got line charts in here now. You've got kind of the cards up in the top, which are big numbers. We're trying to identify something big. You've got maps. Whatever you need at your fingertips now, we can visualize it in that way, okay? And again, this is contract locator performance. So you'll see the contract locator performance here with the different ticket type categories, ticket volume, and so on here. Okay. But big change, and again, it's on, it's live. We can turn it on for you. If you want it on, just let us know. At some point here in the next few months, we will turn it on for everyone, and it'll be ready for everyone here at this particular point. Okay. Yeah, and don't forget overall ticket info. So there's overall ticket info in here as well. Okay. AI, which is one of my favorite topics, and what I would say to all of you before I start this session is Kyle will be speaking on this as well, about a session about risk, and he goes into depth. And some of the things that he showed me, my jaw dropped. Like some of the findings that we have are just unbelievable. So make sure, I'm scratching the surface. Kyle's going really deep with it, and I love his session here. So with risk, we really have 3 different offerings for risk. So we have risk scores, we have a learning model, and then we have something called Insights AI, which is our true artificial intelligence model. And I want to explain what each one of those are, but before I explain, I want to kind of back up a little bit and kind of give some insight into this as well. So when you think about risk, all of risk in terms of being able to predict something in the future, you have to have a very strong data set behind you to be able to predict a future outcome. If you do not, you cannot do a prediction. Or you could, but it's really lying, right? Is really what it is. So with the massive data that we've accumulated, both on the ticket side, the damages, we can use that data to really predict risk in an accurate fashion. And so, that's amazing itself. But here's the other thing about it. This also goes back to when I said we're being used for over 300 different types of forms. We can also look at all those different types of activities that are tied to tickets to say, well, is there any other correlation with tickets here that can predict risk? So if we have clients using us for like the depth of cover, right? What's the depth of cover in this particular location? There's a direct correlation with that with tickets and potential damages. Audits, failed audits, right? Failed audits are a correlation with potential damages as well. Different types of activities outside of just tickets and damages can also be correlated with damages, and that's the type of data that we're using to really predict these future outcomes and to be able to say what is the riskiest thing out here, okay? Now, the other thing that we're doing is not only are we doing that, but this year, coming up here, we're going to be focused a lot on additional data sets outside of our product, things like weather, flooding, which we'll kind of get into in different ways in terms of risk, but that's all going to be a part of our damage prevention risk model in the future here. Now, this is really the big difference between the 3. On the far left-hand side, that column on the far left-hand side, you have Smart Score. Think of Smart Score really as the feature, and when you think about that feature, it is a way to do if-then statements. If you guys all know excavator ABC Incorporated is a bad excavator, I can say if ticket has ABC on it, then assign a score of 80, right? That's a high risk score. So this is where you put in really the hunches or the information that you know. You can also put in like the opposite information. If you don't care about mailboxes on a ticket, you can create a keyword that says mailbox, and then that has a very, very low score every time. Every time it says mailbox, it just assigns a score of 0 and stops, and that's it. So to get into risk, the first step is really Smart Score. That is the easiest way to get in it with if-then statements. Really, the next 2 are big iterations, and they're both impactful together, which I'll explain here in a second, because they both do different things. The learning model, we don't have to, by the way, we don't have to have your damage data for the first one with Smart Score, right? You can just put the if-then statements in. For damage, the learning model, we call it DRA sometimes, we need your damage data. The reason we need your damage data is because we use that damage data to look at the variables that are the most damaging to you. Those 3 things that are the most important variables that we have found are going to be the excavator, the locator, and the facility. Okay? So those 3 things are the most damaging to you. We can look at that in your damage data, and then what the learning model does is it learns over time. As you get more tickets for an excavator, if their damage ratio goes up, their risk goes up. As you get more tickets for an excavator, if their damage ratio goes down, their risk goes down. So as tickets are coming in, as damage are being updated inside of the system, that is a learning model that automatically changes the risk of the tickets themselves. Okay, so that is a learning model for, that is what the learning model does. On the AI side of the house now, with our Insights AI, that, when Kyle shows you guys the things that this model finds, like AI finds that we don't see, some of it is so counterintuitive, but it's unbelievable when you actually see the data behind it. But that finds things that we as humans can't find. We have hunches, right? But our hunches can be wrong sometimes. The AI model actually finds those things that are actually accurate, and it actually predicts correctly what those accuracies are here, okay? Now, what we recommend here, and by the way, for the AI model, we don't need your damage data. We don't need that. We have a national model that we can use that's super accurate already. We can actually take your damage data and put it in if you want to change it specific to yourself as well. But the two of those on the far end actually work in conjunction with each other. So the learning model is more of this updated real time as tickets are coming in, as damages are coming in. The AI model is over a longer time period looking at the big kind of trends as well. Those two together make the most accurate model, right? And again, there are big differences there. On this side, what excavators, locators, facilities are damaging you, we're looking at high consequence areas. On the right side with the artificial intelligence, it is national trend, looking at 811 ticket data across the board, damage data across the board, right? And you get different insights that really predict very strongly what those outcomes are, okay? From an end user standpoint, it's a very easy view here. From an end user standpoint, it's a number, right? And I know, it's just right there. There's the actual number itself, right? So we can combine those two numbers to create a single number here, right? And with that, then, it looks like just a number, but behind the scenes, there's so much additional things behind it, right? So we can show the reasons why. Why was the score the way it was? And right here shows, I had to kind of like redact some of it here, but whatever it hits on, it will actually show you what the score was. And then the biggest piece is the automation piece behind it. So not only is it just a score that sits there in a static fashion if you do nothing with it, if you don't intervene, it's not going to reduce your risk at all. If you intervene, that will reduce your risk. You cannot possibly intervene manually on, if you get 1 million tickets a year, if you have 100,000 additional risky tickets a year, that's a lot more work for you. So how do you do that? You program in automation, which we can do, right? Automated emails out, automated text messages out, right, on high-risk tickets or high-consequence, high-profile areas, whatever it is here. So these types of automations go out. This is the stuff that actually, that intervention is what actually reduces that risk, right? It reduces it. The other thing I want to say is that the next iteration of these notifications going out will also be tied to our Corsetra application, right, with some learnings. So if there's a bad excavator, you could actually send them an email out automatically on a high-risk ticket that actually has a learning inside of it as well, for them to actually like take a course, like a little two-minute course here. So there's a lot of potential here from the action standpoint that we keep looking into. Okay, along with Insights with AI, and this is one of the things that we're most proud of, and Kyle's going to go a lot into this tomorrow, really in depth with this tomorrow. So right now, what we are doing is we are predicting the likelihood, right, on the left-hand side. How likely is this ticket that comes in, this excavation activity, going to cause a damage, right? What we have just done here, and this actually release just happened here, is we've also now added the impact. So we now have the ability to not only show the likelihood, but also what is the impact of it. So this is something that the military and NASA use all the time, right? This type of model. And now we're using this model, and you guys have access to this as well. The big difference here is that if you have, if you look at this chart right here, you have a likelihood that is possible, but that impact could be worth $50 million, right? You may want to do something different on that one. It's just big enough that you don't want it to be damaged, even though it's kind of a medium risk. But the impact alone itself with the medium risk can make you want to take action on that. So it changes really the way in which you take action and what you take action on. And really what happens is that kind of upper right-hand quadrant where all those little red, those highs are in red, those are the things you're now taking action off, kind of multiple variables with risk. So this is brand new for us as well. But again, it goes back to that data set. The data set we were able to look at to say, can we predict the impact? Yes, we can. Build a model, and the accuracy of it is just amazing. So now there's really two things to key off of with this model here. Okay. On the satellite data side here, so one of the big things, is really around the environmental conditions. So this is something that we kept hearing a lot from our clients. Environment is out there, right? There's all these different environmental conditions that change over time, and as they change over time, it's hard to see all that information in one particular spot. And so this is a brand new offering that we're into as of this year. So what we have done here is we have actually created a solution that we call Pipeline Integrity Insights. Pipeline is kind of a misnomer because it can be used by any industry at the end of the day. But what we do now is we have partners, we have partners with IBM and Boston Geospatial, and they're actually in the room. Justin and Sunil, are you guys here? Where are you guys? Justin and Sunil are sitting right there. And then we've got Johannes from IBM. Johannes, raise your hand. Yeah, and I would encourage you all to talk to them. I mean, these are super smart guys who look at like satellite imagery, right? They have algorithms on the satellite imagery that actually can calculate what risks are or what the environmental conditions are that are changing. So the way that it works inside of Utilisphere is, customers come in, they load their assets inside of Utilisphere. Once those asset locations are loaded in Utilisphere, the segments or the systems themselves, we now have a relationship with IBM and Boston Geospatial where they come to find out where those locations are. They pull that back in their side, and then they're looking at the satellite imagery in almost near real time. Some of it's 5-day frequency, some of it's like 14-day frequency, depending on how fast the satellites, can capture the imagery. But if they find risk around those segments of pipe, now they call and pass that information back into our system as well. So now there's one spot to aggregate literally fire risk, slope risk, seismic, methane risk in one spot. So you can imagine, when we first did this and I first kind of saw the data with one of a test company here, when you drill into it and see a location, you're like, oh, there's a methane leak there. Oh, and there's also a fire there. That's not good, right? That's not good if you're a gas company, right? But you can actually see that, and it's absolutely amazing when you see that. So this is brand new for us, something we're into, and actually Shane's going to talk more about this, kind of go into a lot more depth in his session here. This is an example of what it looks like, though. We're making it as easy as possible, right? So on a summary screen, you have assets. Each row is an asset. For each row, you see the risk, right? And then when you click on that asset, now you see the individual risk and the reasons why. You can see like the different accuracy. On the fire side, you can see who reported it, where it came from, the confidence. There's all different information around the details as well. So this is another way that we're able to really get into the risk in a different fashion using different data sets. And we're just stepping into this. There's more and more data sets to come. Weather will be included in here at some point. We're looking at soil moisture as well, potable water for cities and also sewage water for cities, all using satellite imagery. So if there's other ideas that you have, like come yell them at me, because I definitely want those ideas. Okay. Next thing is very similar to this as well. This is satellite data again, but this is for depth of coverage. It's a little bit different model, still underneath our Pipeline Integrity Insights model as well. So depth of cover, I'm sure we've got a lot of pipeline companies in here, right? So everyone's shaking their head yes. I see everyone shaking their head yes. Everyone has to do depth of cover for your pipeline company, simple as that, right? Right now, it's either manual, right, or you're doing an ILI. That's what you're doing. It's costly to do that here. So what we have been able to do here is take the satellite imagery, pinpoint specific lat longs actually on the Earth using satellite imagery to predict what is the depth of cover at that particular location. So what I'm showing you is the way that starts. If you have a past data set, that past data set's from LIL data or hand probes, we can load that into Utilisphere, right? And then we have those lat longs. Now with our partner on the Boston Geospatial side, they go and look at literally the satellite imagery at those exact locations to bring that data set back, right, to show us what that depth of cover is with that particular pipeline. Here's the thing that I find so amazing about this as well. We've done this now, and remember, you're constantly optimizing. Once you get the imagery back, there's some ways to optimize the algorithm behind the scenes to make sure the data is more accurate. The first time we did it, everything was within 12 inches, and then majority of them were within 6 inches, right? So that's amazing when you're talking about literally satellite imagery looking down at the Earth, and those are the findings here. So this is something that is released, that's out there right now. We're excited about both of these Pipeline Integrity Insights things. And again, Shane's going to go much more into depth with these two things here. This just shows you an example of that as well. So again, summary screen, lat longs along your pipeline. Along with those lat longs, we're looking at like past ILI data or your manual readings, and then we're looking at what our delta is, what our difference is in those, right? So this is the big thing we're doing now for depth of cover. Okay, Exactix. So Exactix is our one-call center system in here. Remember, we do have a bunch of one-call centers here as well. You guys always kind of sit together. What's up with that? I don't know. Is that just by nature, or you just don't like anyone else, right? Just yourselves here. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I like you guys too. So a bunch of one-call centers. Make sure you talk to them. Definitely talk to them here. But one of the big pushes we had, create tickets on mobile. So that's one of the big pushes we've had this year for Exactix. And to show you an example of what this looks like here, we're trying to make it easier for excavators to actually enter tickets. So we don't just have the web portion now. We have the ability for them to do that on like a mobile application. So now excavators can come in, they can add in their excavation information, their work information. They can put in their different dates and ticket type information, where the site is, that they're going to be doing the excavation activity. You've got the ability to now map from an excavator standpoint where they can draw on the map where the excavation activity is going to occur. And then that goes in all the way through the process where they can verify the location, see the different areas affected, and then that's going to actually create the ticket and issue the ticket at the end of the day. So again, we're looking at all stakeholders, all shareholders kind of across this damage prevention industry right now, right? On the excavator side, the one-call side, the member side, right? Contract locator side, all the way across the board. Really trying to make it as an industry whole, reduce damages, improve safety, improve resilience for everyone across the board here. This is a big portion of that piece here. Okay. So that's a lot of stuff that I covered in a short amount of time. Are there any questions? Open up some questions here. Paco, go ahead.
On the mobile application, so I know typically, especially like on the web view, you guys just show exactly how the ticket comes in from the one office.
Yeah.
On the mobile view, so like specifically speaking towards like Pelican, how they made some changes for USA North.
Yeah.
Does it change the format of the ticket?
We do, yeah.
That mobile view?
Yeah, let me explain. So the question is like on our new mobile application, do we show just like the raw ticket text versus kind of a changed formatted view? We show a changed formatted view now, but the locator always has the ability to go back to the raw ticket text if they want. And by the way, Rod will show us in the next session, but we're also coming out with a a new full web UX, and we do the same thing on that. What we've noticed is that, and Paco's question is a really good question because when you're looking at, everyone in here has probably seen ticket text. When you look at raw ticket text on a phone with like the sun beaming down from behind your head hitting the phone, it's really not easy to see. It's really hard to see. So part of the reason that we made that change, where some of the things are now going to be bolded out are really so text could see as they're out in the sun or like conditions like that. Yeah. Okay, good. Other questions here? Oh yeah, we can run a mic at you and put it in your face here. Yeah. Everyone loves that. Everyone loves that. Yeah. Yeah, question.
I want to know about the increased photo ability in the mobile app.
Yeah, and what it really is more about speed. So what was happening is it really came down to the devices themselves. When we first, I don't know, Rod, like how big images were when we first created our mobile. Well, they were not big. They were small, right? Like a meg. Now, like the average photo size has gone up to like 15 megs or something. Rod, am I lying or is that true? Like 15 megs? Yeah. So a single photo now can be like 15 megabytes, and some of you capture a lot of photos, hundreds of photos on a single ticket.
The number of volume pictures went way up as well. It used to be
Yeah.
a few pictures per ticket. Now, 15 a lot of times per ticket.
Yeah. So it's a very thorough industry. Yeah, but the big change we made is there's really a few things with that. So number one, in taking the image, we've really built our own photo control, where now it's much faster. You don't have to snap and then hit like a checkbox and snap, hit a checkbox. No click in between. It's now just like take, and then you can like run off the street, right? And then the other thing too, because it's asynchronous, but that photo thing did impact our syncing as well, because you can imagine if you have like 500 photos at 15 megs, and then you hit sync to do like a hard sync, like to upload all that, and you're on a cellular connection, maybe an LTE, not even a 5G or 4G, that will take a while to sync. Now what happens is as they're taking the photos, the app checks to see if there's a connection, and then if there's a connection, it automatically starts passing those photos up, right, without any sync occurring. So it is asynchronous now, right, where we're first looking to see if you have a connection, and if there is, we're passing those things up automatically and pulling things down automatically, and once there is no connection, if they're in a really remote area, it just stops and retains everything on that device where they can still work, is the way that it works here.
Automatically, when they've got signal, do it? They don't have to hit an update?
Automatically, yeah. There's no more concept of a button to sync. There's no more concept of that. There is now a concept of an outbox, and the outbox just shows them what is being synced. That's all it is. But there's no more button. That button is now gone to sync. No. Good. Yeah, Chris?
So if something isn't synced, it alerts them? It tells them if something hasn't synced?
There's an outbox, yeah. I don't know, Rod, have we built an alert if something hasn't synced? There's the outbox. I don't know if we have an alert off of that.
We don't have an alert at this time.
Yeah.
A little indicator letting you know that there's something there.
Yeah.
It's very visual. Basically, anywhere you are in the app, there is something that has not been uploaded.
Yeah. Yeah. Good question. Yeah, go ahead.
So with that asynchronous process, what happens if you're not necessarily in a complete dead zone? It's just a weak signal.
Yeah.
What's the process?
We are looking for some minimum. So there is some minimum. I don't know what the threshold is. He's asking about if the new mobile app is in a weak signal, but it's not completely disconnected. Are we looking for some bandwidth, and then we kind of?
Yeah, we look to see if there's any connection.
Yeah.
And we start to upload in the background. But it's,
Yeah.
trying to upload all 15 names all in one big batch.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Yeah. Question.
Yeah, we use the breadcrumbing, because, we actually ride the line.
Yeah.
And so on the app, we had to have two devices, because we couldn't check tickets and breadcrumb at the same time with the old app, so we had to, keep two apps or get out of
Yeah.
that and go into the web base. on your
Gotcha, yeah.
phone. So is that going to be correct at all?
What's your use case? Is it for Air Patrol or what's it for?
We use it for air
Patrol?
patrol. 'Cause
Okay.
They don't have air patrol, we have
Yeah.
air patrol, LAX don't let them.
Okay. So
Pipeline.
tomorrow. So I'm going to go into that tomorrow. I'll show you more tomorrow because that's not actually out yet. But I'll show you what we're doing for that because there's the ability, and I'll show you tomorrow, the button that just says start breadcrumb, and it starts showing them on the map like where they're going while they're doing all their other work. So you'll see that user interface tomorrow. Yeah. So that's during my session, the roadmap session tomorrow. Yep. Yep. Misty.
So as far as the risk stuff, I mean, a lot of operators are sending out a lot of different email
Yeah.
communications to excavators, which is great. Is there any thought about creating a mechanism through an enhanced positive response process?
Yep.
For sending that information that way for that two-way communication?
I love that. I'm going to repeat that. So Misty's point is very valid, right? So she's asking, there's a lot of communications going out now for risk, right? It used to just be positive response. Those were the only communications. Now there's communications going out prior to that around risk. I mean, excavators are getting a lot of communications. So she's asking, if we've thought about like optimizing that? The answer is yes, and we need to talk about that, right? Because, at some point, what we keep monitoring, and we're actually doing this, the other thing is we're doing actual studies now. I don't think a lot of our customers realize that, but actual studies into like risk and what we're doing with risk. So there could be a point where too much intervention, too many communications out to the excavator actually is bad because they just start ignoring, right? So I don't think, as an industry, risk is still fairly new. Like we're in this too. We're trying to stay out in front of the actual studies. Something that we should probably talk about and have a roundtable with both the one-call side and other customers. So that's probably a really good thing, Lindsay, to even have like a forum or session about that, right? And just ask those questions. Yeah. Do you have ideas already? Yeah. Yeah. Well, come up here. Let's hear them. No. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to piggyback off her question.
Yep.
So is the communication going to the person that called in the ticket?
Yeah.
Which could be someone in the office and they never get it to the field person? How is that communication?
Yeah. So the question is, and that's specific to risk. So the question specific to risk is, for like an automated notification that goes out, is that going to the person who called in, or is that going to the field? And the answer to your question is, it just depends, right? It can go to either, and it depends on the customer, what you choose to do with it. So you can send it directly to the field, or you can send it to the person that calls in, or both. You can send it internally to supervisors and never send it to the excavator or the company, right? So it really depends on you. I think, who do some of our larger ones, I think they send it directly to the call-in person, majority, right? Yeah, I think majority are directly to the call-in person, yeah. Yep, Kevin?
To that point,
Yeah.
The executive platform does allow for us to assign a field contact, which isn't necessarily the person in the field.
Yep.
Is that we're finding more? I mean, as we adopt more and more mobile,
Yeah.
they're using that to check the positive response in the field. Like I'm looking at it, like how do we get the breadcrumbs sent to the excavator so that when they check positive response, they can verify against the breadcrumbs. Like,
Yeah.
Those are the things.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a great point. More a point than a question, but like on the Exactic side, on the one call center side, they can put the actual field contact in there now. And so then as long as that's in there on the ticket, we can tap into that to send notifications out to that field contact as well. Right? So that's a very valid point. Yep.
As well as the subcontractors.
Subcontractors, yeah. Good point. Yep. Subcontractors as well. Yeah. This is why you guys all sit together. You gang up on people. No. Yeah. Next.
Back to the pictures, a couple questions. If you're not connected and you do, say, 3 tickets.
Yeah.
Is it able to put those pictures with that ticket?
Yes, yeah. So what it does, it consolidates it all in like an outbox, basically. It just holds it. Imagine like if you've gone to like your email like on your phone and you see like unsent emails. That's kind of what the outbox looks like. Like, and we kind of like replicated off of that a little bit. So if you are not connected on the new mobile app and you take, you do a response on a ticket, you take a bunch of pictures on the ticket, all that information retains. It just gets stored in the outbox. And then when the native app, our app sees that it's connected, then it starts passing that data up. But it is all retained.
So
Yeah.
if they did 3 tickets, they would have to pull up each ticket before they enter that. How's it linked?
On the multi-select rod, can they take photos on the multi-select for one, like photos for 3 tickets, 1 photo for 3 tickets? Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and that's off the, because on the home, not home screen, but the summary, we were putting the ability to do actions off of the summary. So you could choose like 3 and then hit add photos, and those all, single photo would go across all 3.
This
Yeah.
is talking about on Friday, work items also includes the
Yeah,
first version of batch action, which is
yeah,
the summary screen to be able to do things like, you know, unassigning it to yourself or assigning it to somebody else, right? If you need somebody else to take over the work for you, makes it easier to do that.
My second part is that when I have metadata, time taking, lat long,
yeah. We talking about the metadata, like time taken, lat long, all that stuff is a part of it as well, yeah.
Basically, it's a company option that you can turn on through the settings. It's to basically embed that information through a little bar down at the bottom, puts that information on every photo. So it's not metadata embedded in the actual image itself. Yeah, it's displayed at the bottom.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, Chris?
does Corcentra have some training available in the library already? For example, the new app,
Yeah.
is there anything in there for the new app?
So the question is, does Corcentra have training already available in the library now? So the majority of the training content that we've done has actually been for customers, right? Like on the one call center side, training for excavators, that type of thing. We are ourselves using Corcentra as well to basically build in things like that. What we're doing, we're not there yet. We're stepping into that because you can imagine, you kind of build it first, then you have to create the training documentation off of it after the fact. We have created some product tours now at this particular point. There are clickable product tours. And then that will be going into Corcentra that will help us with training. That's another big push also for like CS at some point as well at Earth Solutions, our customer success team, where we start using Corcentra to do training for implementations or ongoing education with our product as a whole. So we're not there yet, but we will get there here shortly. Hopefully at the end of this year, we have majority of content in Corcentra.
Will there just be a separate button within the web,
Yeah.
web version that you just click on?
Yeah, and there is now, like there's that, in the upper right-hand corner, there's like it's like the account and it says like help or something. And that's where we're putting like product tours now for that. But we're gonna expand that out, fully expand it out. Yep, good question, yep, another question?
Going on the training side too, will it be something that the individual admins per company operator will be able to develop their own training, similar to how we develop work applications?
That's a good question. So training, so you guys would actually build the training specific to like your rules at your company, like your manual. We could do that, yeah, we could definitely do that. We should definitely talk about that to see. That's a good question. Yeah. Yeah. Have you? Okay. Yeah, that's great. Oh yeah, because we do have the ability to put like help content in there. Yep. Good questions. Okay, good. I love it. Great feedback. That's what I love about this group. This is how I learn. The questions that you guys ask are how I learn. I never learn anything from Rod though. He's got no knowledge at all. Yeah.
I guess one more question. Have you looked at doing a mobile application for the admin side?
That's an interesting thing. Can you write that one down, Lindsay or Shane? Mobile app for the admin side. What's the use case? Like, would your administrators really use mobile, like on their phone, to make changes?
Yeah, because right now I have to pull my computer out, and usually I'm at the airport or something. If I'd be able to go in and add a user or something
Yeah.
on my phone, which I can, but I have to go to the web view, right?
Yeah.
It takes a lot longer, but if I had an admin mobile application that I could,
Yeah.
manipulate forms and all that good stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. You're ahead. I like that. Yeah. Go ahead.
I also find that capacity in other training that I've done.
Yeah.
If my tech is looking at a mobile app, if I'm able to look at the same thing he's looking at, sometimes the question can get answered a lot faster.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. So we're going to write that suggestion down. So the suggestion is like a mobile app for administrators. Really, is what the suggestion is. Add users, probably add folders, probably make some changes like that. Do you change auto processing? Do you want to do that from a phone?
Yeah.
So even auto processing rules. Okay. That's good feedback. Yeah. Yeah.
In terms of her question about being able to see what the text is, that's where our
Yeah, remote assistance. Yeah, that's a good point too, because we have kind of a newer product as well called remote assistance. Maybe a little bit different than what you want, but think of it like FaceTime, where a tech could be in the field and call back to the supervisor. I can see their view of their camera, and you can draw in space, and those drawings in space stay in space as well, right? So that's something kind of newer, and we're testing that out with a few clients right now. Yeah, you can. Yeah, that's a good point. Yep, good point.
And the other thing there is like if you use something like Microsoft Teams, if they were to basically set up a meeting or call you through the Teams,
Yeah.
they can screen share from the phone and you'll actually see exactly what they're seeing.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Question?
To piggyback off what he said, as an admin, I'd like to see, pull any ticket up
Yeah. So administrator functionality. Yeah, great suggestion. Great suggestions. Yeah. I love it. That's what this conference is for, right? Suggestions like that. We collect these ideas and we go back and make the changes. Rod will have that stuff done next week. A whole new mobile app for administrators will be done next week. Hopefully Brad didn't hear that. He'll kill me. Yeah, question. Yeah.
On the dashboard, is that at no additional cost as well?
No. Those do not have additional cost. The question was, do the dashboards have additional cost? The answer is absolutely not. We're just doing, like on really big features, we're trying to do very controlled rollouts because they do have a big impact to you, right? Like especially on the mobile, if we get a response wrong or something fails on the response side, that could cause damage, right? Reports and dashboards, that's just kind of newer, where we've just released that literally like last month. So if you want that, we can actually turn that on for you like today even, right? And you can see it today. So yeah, anything that I've said regarding mobile or regarding the reports and dashboards, if you want those turned on, just talk to like Lindsay and then we can set up time with you guys next week to turn it on for you and then walk you through what those look like, right? Again, those are no cost, so we're not talking about a fee there. No cost there. Yep, question.
It's probably a dumb question, but.
No dumb questions.
Use the sandbox environment.
Yep.
You guys gave us a sandbox site. And for something like that, I would want to turn on before we get the sandbox.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. So the question is, we have both production and sandbox sites for all the customers. Can we just turn on things like mobile and sandbox only or reports and dashboards? Absolutely. So we can just turn those on there. Mobile, you can just point to sandbox, so that's no issue at all as well. Yeah.